875. That's how many pages I've read. I just finished part 3 and I am so excited to talk about this part. You really feel like the start of the standard launch is now, and we have 2 storylines. Some huge things are happening in each. Some things that are going to have much wider implications, not just for this book, but for the entirety of the series. And let's dive into them right now. So the first storyline I want to talk about, and I think the most interesting storyline currently, is Shallan. Shallan, her storyline is extremely curious, but also incredibly frustrating. And I'll explain why. But first, let's talk about what's happened to her in the last 175 pages. So first we get the Soulcaster kind of whispering to her, and it gives me like the One Ring kind of vibe from Lord of the Rings, and it asks not who is she, but what is she. It says, what are you? And that is infinitely more curious than asking who are you. So there's a few options. Either the Soulcaster is itself alive in a sense, or conscious, or it holds inside it someone or some being, or through the Soulcaster you are able to speak with symbol heads in this case that are around you anyway. So which of those 3 do I think it is? I would guess probably the last one, because we have a few other clues towards that and in that direction, but yes, probably the last one. So we do get to see what Jasnah is looking at, and she's looking at Voidbringers, she's looking at the Everstorm, she's looking at the city, which I definitely can't pronounce. It's like Eritrea? Not Eritrea, that's an actual country in Africa. Erethiku? I'm just going to call it the Hidden City for right now, because that's a safer bet, and I'll learn how to pronounce it next time. But yes, so she's looking for those type of things, which is super interesting, because it would allude to the idea that she knows much more about it than we do at this point here. So, and we also see some of the notes that she's looked at that Shallan reads, they are in the head notes. So we now know that potentially Jasnah is narrating, or at least we're looking through her notes and some of these head notes now, which is good to know. So she's spending a lot of time looking into the sunken / lost city that starts with the letter U. And my guess is, and why I say my guess, it's pretty clear, she seems to believe in the Everstorm. She thinks that it's going to be a problem moving forwards, and she must have some relatively irrefutable evidence of this, because she's somebody who is extremely logical. So between her and her uncle, they think this is going to be a threat that they're going to have to face. So what evidence do they have? I'm interested to find out. So it's at this point I start to get very, very suspicious of the Ardent. He professes his love for Shallan, and we don't really know his motives, and it's just way too much. So I start to think, have we ever even seen this guy interact with another Ardent? We don't know for sure. We've definitely not seen him interact with a superior as far as I know. So I got a little bit suspicious of him. And then I'm just trying to figure out, how is Shallan's storyline gonna wrap its way up? Previously I did think she was going to leave, but now I don't think so. I think, based on, obviously there's more to this, which makes me definitely think she's not going to leave. But I just don't think Jasnah's a character that we leave behind anytime soon. She's so interesting and well pieced together. And realistically, of every character we've met, she is the most clear-headed and direct, and probably the one that you can trust and rely on the most. Her uncle's pretty trustworthy, outside of the fact that he appears to be going absolutely mental. So there is that. So yeah, I'm starting to think, like, where's this gonna go? And then boom, loads of stuff happens. So we get an epic chase scene, which is kind of in Shallan's own head, and it's taken by memories, and she sketches down these symbol heads, and they're chasing her and chasing her. And then we get what appears to be a physical touch from one of these symbol heads. Again, they say, what are you? Not who are you? And then she goes on this kind of, I would say, spiritual, or at least psychedelic kind of journey to what I would guess is the hidden or sunken city. That's the only thing that seems to make sense. So she sees that. She then in fear soulcasts, and she soulcasts, if I'm not mistaken, a cup with 3 diamonds on it. What on earth is the symbol or the signet of the people in her homeland who are trying to get their soulcaster back and trying to apply some pressure to her brothers and the one that her servant was wearing around there. What is that doing on a cup in her room? I have some ideas. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I misread, but it seems like that was the exact same symbol. So something is afoot. So she pretends suicide, and then Jasnah comes in and they send her to the hospital. In the hospital, the Ardent comes in, tries to poison her and poison Jasnah as well, and then she gives back the soulcaster and Jasnah saves her. Wow, holy moly, that was incredible, but extremely frustrating. And the reason it's frustrating is it's so clear, as I just mentioned, that Jasnah is potentially the most well put together person in this series so far. And she obviously has clues and is searching in a direction that is very mystical and mythical. And Shallan is seeing symbol heads. She is hearing voices. If she would just open her mouth and speak with Jasnah on these things, everything would change. So my obvious prediction is that has to happen, but how does that happen? How does she get pushed to that point? I think the diamond symbol has something to do with it. So I think there's two things that could happen. One, maybe the people who are back in her homeland have made their way over here and they're trying to get a hold of her here. So some kind of threat pops up and she tells Jasnah. But I think more likely, I think Jasnah might be a part of that group, the three diamonds. Like, why else would there be a cup in the room? And I don't think maybe that it is a bad organization. I think potentially that organization is just searching for something in the past. And as soon as Jasnah and her connect it, and then she sees the pictures of the symbol heads, Jasnah will have some extremely important information that will put these two together. And she will realize that because Shallan was able to soulcast, she is a vital piece to the puzzle. There's got to be some kind of prophecy. We already kind of know that from the Teft Kaladin scenario. So how does Shallan fit into this? And that's why it's so frustrating, is because she could simply open her mouth and confide in the person who has done so much for her already, and she just won't do it. Oh my Lord. Before we move on from Shallan, there's a couple of other things that I have written down in my notes. I don't know where they fit, but I know are going to be important. There's another hint that the truth is extremely important. And I know the truth is important all the time, but you know, the Shin seem to think that the truth is extremely important and Zeph is truthless, and it seems to keep popping up. And I think, I can't remember exactly who says it, but when she's going on that journey to that the Lost and Sunken City, it says this is true. And I believe it's the Soulcaster speaking with her. So it's another indication that the truth is really important in this journey and probably in our battle against the Everstorm. Also, whatever is speaking to her in or through the Soulcaster seems to have been asleep for a long time. And that would again point to maybe the oath breakers, or maybe the one guy who got left behind, and I've forgotten his name already. Poor guy, probably everyone's forgotten his name, especially his 9 friends who left him there, or so-called friends. Maybe that guy's been asleep for such a long time, stuck in that zone, because he was the only one who got sent there. So that's another thought I had. But what do the symbol heads want? They either seem to want the Soulcaster, or they really seem to want Shallan for what she is. I don't know the answer there. I can't even hazard a guess. I'm just excited that I do get to find out at some point. On to Kaladin. Kaladin becomes the storm. He rides the storm and he gives us an overview of the entire world. And just when I thought that nothing could really top what was happening in the other storyline, well, this probably doesn't top it, but it just gives us a massive scope of how big this world is and how much has been untouched so far and what there is still to discover. And I think we get evidence that there is a hidden city underneath the shattered plains just by the descriptions. And I would hazard a guess that this hidden city or place is the lost or sunken city of, I have it written down here, Urithiru, potentially. So yeah, that's my prediction. That's where it is. It's under the sunken plain. The creme came and filled it all the way to the top, and something that we need, something that we want is going to be down there. And that's why Kaladin and his squad going through the ruins is, you know, pretty key, because they're going to find something that's important down there. Odium Reigns, the worst of the 16. Is Odium the big face in the clouds? Potentially. Is there more than 2 shards on this planet? I'm almost certain now, based on what we've seen so far. There's so much that could be said. Syl hates it when he says Odium Reigns. She gets afraid. So, I mean, it's impressive that we've come so far with this spread and there's still no direct mentions as to what they do or how they do it or why they're there, unless I've completely missed them. But there's a lot of clues here that I can't put together. I'm just really enjoying the ride in this section. There's also talk of renewing the Oath Pact, or a need to renew the Oath Pact. I have hung on to that very first prelude, or what did I call it? Prelude? That first bit where we learn about the 9 betraying the 1 and abandoning the Oath Pact. So I assume that's where this entire story is going. Not this book, but overall. And on his big journey across the fields, if I go back and, across the skies in the storm and the winds, if I go back probably a couple of books down the line and look at that journey, there's probably a lot of foreshadowing. Like, we're definitely going to go to the mountain place. We're definitely going to go to some of the other places that are, brought up there. But Zeph is for sure doing murder. And it's probably a couple of the people that's on his list. And next to his murder, we get mention of I think it's a golden red. Maybe it was golden red, but I wrote it down as red and golden hair. No real reason for her to be mentioned, yet she is. So she will obviously be important. And what I must say is that I'm really enjoying Kaladin's storyline. I love when a group of people are building towards a goal and they're building their camaraderie and they're training and they're developing and they're improving. It's just such a enjoyable part of any book, and it seems to be in so many books, because it has to be, right? For there to be change, people need to better themselves and push, and togetherness and a group, and it's just a lot of fun to read. I think the camaraderie, like playing sports and things like that, it's just fun. I'm sure some of you agree. And I think the group that he's building is really cool. So we have Teft, we have Rock, we have a few others, and he explains even some of them are fantastic with the spear pretty much immediately. Teft obviously knows a lot about what Kaladin really is, or at least some about what he really is, or at least suspects what he might be, and will therefore give him some vital information. If they do truly escape, which I don't think they're going to do anymore, but if they do truly escape, it will be interesting, because a lot of them there will have some influence in different parts of the world, so they can go and visit different parts of the world, and therefore I get to visit different parts of the world. So it will be good fun. So we see why Kaladin hates the Light Eyes, and I think Amaram, your death will be oh so sweet after the sourness of your betrayal to our boy Kaladin. And when it comes down to it, I think Kaladin will take the Shard Blade when he kills him this time round, and that is of course because of Dalinar. Because Dalinar is everything that our boy Kaladin doesn't think can exist in a Light Eyes, but Dalinar is that. And also Dalinar is looking for Kaladin, but he doesn't even know it, because Kaladin is everything that Dalinar believes people should be, especially with Shardblade. He gave it away to the common man who didn't want it. He gave it up, selfless. So somehow these two need to interact, and somehow Dalinar is going to give him maybe Shard Plates. I think he has some left over, or something along those lines. Those are my guesses. But I do have a sneaky suspicion that Kaladin does have some kind of curse on him, because everyone around him seems to die. And I think it's not dissimilar to the Collector's Curse. Are these people somehow Oathbreakers reborn? I didn't know the Oathbreakers could die. I don't really know, but I have a suspicion that Kaladin, I was thinking, maybe Kaladin will have everybody around him die again, but so many people in his group, in his squad, have only had their backstory, which seemed to be really interesting backstories, teased at. So it would be a lot of foreshadowing, like with Teft, for example, and Rock and some of the others. especially Teth. It would be a lot of foreshadowing for nothing, basically, unless we get a big development from them across the next 100 and however many pages are left, which is very possible. So overall, I am hooked. I did this video with almost no preparation because I just want to go and read some more. So I will see you on the next video. Please like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you next Sunday.